Today we are going to be talking about solving quadratics using zero product property. So in our warm-up today, the only one I really want you to focus on here is the last one. So these first three we don't need to worry about. This is our big idea for zero product property. If we have two things multiplied together, g times h, and those equal 0, then I know either g needs to be 0 or h needs to be 0. So, for example, you could say g equals 0 or h equals 0, because if g is 0, I would have 0 times a number, right? It doesn't matter what number I put in here, because it's multiplied by 0, the answer is still 0, okay? And then the same is true if we set that up the other way. If this were g and then h were 0, I can put any number here, and no matter what it is, the answer is still 0 because we'd be multiplying by 0. So if we have two things multiplied together, this and this, either the first needs to be 0 or the second needs to be 0. That is what zero product property says. Okay, make sure to write down that name, zero product property. Very, very important. So if we look down here at example 1, we want to use, we're going to be using our zero product property, but right now we just want to solve and find the solutions. So here we have x minus 3 equals 0. So just like we've done before, we are going to draw that line through the equal sign. If you don't want to draw the line, you don't have to. We want to get x alone, so I'm going to add 3 and add 3. Those will cancel, so x equals 3. Number 2, we have x plus 11. So we can draw that line through the equal sign, subtract 11 from both sides. Those will cancel, and we get x equals negative 11. If we look at number 3, again, we're trying to get x alone. So we can draw that line. First thing we have to do, subtract 11. So now we have 2x equals negative 11. And then we can divide by 2. So you can either leave your answer as negative 11 over 2, or you can say negative 5.5. Either of them are fine with me. You do not need to write both, okay? Now number 4, this is where we are going to be needing to use zero product property. Because in this equation, we have two x's. I have an x right here and an x right here. So when we have that, when we have two x's, and we have factored form, because we have the parentheses here, right? This is factored form. We can use our zero product property. My first product, or factor, remember we had like g times h equals 0. So this g term here is this first term over here, x. And then my second term, h, is this set of parentheses over here. So I have x times 2x plus 11. So that means either x has to equal 0 to get an answer of 0, or 2x plus 11 has to equal 0. So we're taking each factor and setting them equal to 0. Now this first one we didn't have to do anything with because it was just x. This other one though, we're going to have to solve to see what value of x will make this whole factor 0. So we subtract 11, we have 2x equals negative 11, divide by 2, and just like number 3 that we had, you can say x equals negative 11 over 2, or you can say x equals negative 5.5. You do not need both. Just pick one of them. Okay. Let's look at number 5. Again, we have two things multiplied together. So my first factor here is x minus 3. My second factor is x plus 11. So that means either x minus 3 equals 0 or x plus 11 equals 0. And we have to solve both of them because both answers are true. So for x minus 3, all we have to do is add 3. So x equals 3. Or we have to solve this one. Subtract 11. X equals negative 11. Okay? So both of these are the solutions. We need to list both of them. Because if x equals 3, then this whole equation would equal 0. Or if x equals negative 11, the whole equation would also be 0. So we need to have both of them as our answers. Number 6, we can look at our two factors, make sure we know what those are first. So we have our first factor here, x minus 3, and our second factor, 2x plus 11. So either x minus 3 equals 0 or 2x plus 11 equals 0. So for that first equation, to solve it again, add 3. So either x equals 3 or we can solve this other one, which we've done before also. 2x equals negative 11. Divide by 2. X equals negative 5.5. So those are my two answers, either x equals 3 or x equals negative 5.5. Okay. I'm going to have you guys not worry about this first x here. So go ahead and cross that off. We're just going to look at this as two factors. We have x plus 3 or we have 3x minus 4. So either x plus 3 equals 0 or 3x minus 4 equals 0. So we can solve that first one by subtracting 3. So x equals negative 3 is an answer. Or over here we would add 4 first. So now we have 3x equals 4. And then we would divide by 3. So either x equals negative 3 or x equals 4/3. And those would be my answers. When you're ready, we can go to the next page. So here we're going to look at projectiles again. So we've seen these quadratic functions modeling the height of a projectile as a function of time. And we have two ways to define the same function that approximates the height of a projectile in meters, t seconds after the launch. So we have our first equation over here. This is given to us in standard form. And we have our second equation over here, which is given to us in factored form. Which way of defining the function allows us to use the zero product property to find out when the height of the object is 0 meters? So zero product property, to use zero product property at any time, we need to use factored form. Always. We cannot use zero product property with standard form because we don't have anything that's multiplied the same way that factored form is. So we want to look at number 2, and without graphing, determine at what time the height of the object is 0 meters. So if my height is 0 meters, that means 0 is going to go in for the height over there. So my equation is 0 equals, parenthesis, negative 5t minus 3 times t minus 6. So we are set up to use factored form. We have our first factor here, and our second factor here. So that means with zero product property, either negative 5t minus 3 equals 0, or t minus 6 equals 0. So we have to solve both of them. So this first one, we will add 3, so negative 5t equals 3, and then we can divide by negative 5. Okay, and remember these are seconds, so we have t equals negative 3/5 seconds. This is our value of time because we are determining what time was the height 0. So that's our first option. Or for the other one, we would add 6 and get t equals 6 seconds. So we have both of these points, these values, that give us the output of 0 that we're looking for. But if we are thinking in terms of our context, does it make sense to have negative 3/5 seconds? If you're launching something, your time is going to start at 0. So just like we've had in previous units, we cannot have negative time. So that means our object would be at 0 feet at 6 seconds, okay? Mathematically, this still works, but in terms of the context, we cannot have a negative amount of time, so that means it has to be 6 seconds, okay? If you have any questions, make sure to write those down.